Hello, everyone. This is Gary Allen, realtor in Las Vegas, Nevada. Today, we're going to be on the webinar with Mr. Bryan Perez, a good friend of mine, realtor in South Carolina. Just waiting for him. There he is. Mr. Perez, how you doing? Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
All right, beautiful. How you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. You?
Good, good. We are recording right now, so I just was mentioning that you're a good friend of mine, so I'm going to tell a little story about how we met, and then I'm going to share a little bit about what I use to grow my real estate business, and then I'll turn it over to you and maybe ask you some questions at the end. And this will probably last about 45 minutes or so. And so I met Bryan back in 1999. And I walked into a Lexus dealership. I had a little Porsche that was driving me crazy. And met Bryan for the first time and bought a vehicle from him, bought a beautiful Lexus GS 400. And the amazing thing was, we go through the normal process, and I'm sure Bryan did very well because I was in a mood to buy and wanted to get it over with. We won't talk about that. But what I do want to talk about is that 3 months later, I get a phone call from Bryan, and I'm like, "Why is my car salesman calling me?" I mean, it's just kind of odd. And so, we chatted for a few minutes. He asked me how I'm doing, and that was about it. So 3 months later, another phone call. Bryan, Gary, this is Bryan. How you doing? I'm thinking to myself, what is the deal here? So come to find out that Bryan, honestly, you're a master of contact. You made a determination that you were going to keep in touch with people and that you understood that your network is your net worth. And now we're best friends, and it's all because you decided that you keep in touch with people because there's outside of the value of friendships and connections, it really, it comes down to money. So Bryan, talk a little bit about that, and then I'll go ahead and take it back.
All right, Gary. Well, hey, thanks for having me here. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, hear you great.
So where do you want me to start, Gary?
Well, I want you to talk a little bit about why, when we met, did you call me a couple months later, and why you just stayed in touch, and that'll progress into what we're doing now.
Got it. Well, Gary, right around the time that I met you, I think we met in 1998, 1999. Well, about a year and a half before that is when I got into the car business. I'd never really been in sales. I had been in telemarketing, phone sales, but never face-to-face sales. And I can't remember who it was, but somebody recommended a good book to me by a gentleman by the name of Joe Girard. And Joe Girard is in the Guinness World Book of Records for selling the most vehicles, da-da-da. But I read his book. And one of the things that he did that made him so good is he would literally handwrite thank you cards, birthday cards, anniversary cards, and so forth. And I started doing that, right? I started doing that because I noticed that most of the salespeople in the dealership were out there taking ups, right? They were out there taking ups, and there was only a few that had mastered the referral game, which is nurturing their network. And I decided that I was going to go ahead and start handwriting cards. Well, a couple years later, I wasn't out there taking ups like a lot of people were, because I was out there nurturing my network, because I understood the power of planting those seeds and building those relationships, which eventually led to you and our friendship, and here we are.
Okay, that's great. And I know that, we've been great friends for, 6-7 years, and good contacts prior to that. And about 4 years ago, I came across something that when I saw it, I immediately thought of you. So I was at an event where there was about 10,000 people, and there was a gentleman up on stage that by the name of Jordan Adler. And I knew who Jordan was. Bryan knew who Jordan was. And we both know that he worked for a company called Send Out Cards. For myself, I never looked at the website until that night. And I was a realtor for about a year at that point. And, you learn being a realtor that it's all about people. It's all about relationships. And when I looked on the website that night, it's like, this is absolutely what I need to grow my real estate business. And so surprisingly, Jordan had purchased a home from someone in my office. So I talked to Chet and asked Chet to call Jordan, have Jordan call me, which he did the next day. And I got started a couple days later. And the first person that I reached out to about this program, because I knew that you would love it, was Mr. Bryan Perez. And Bryan, when I showed you this, what were your thoughts?
Well, Gary, as you know, and most of the people on watching this don't know this, I used to be in the mortgage business, and you were my go-to insurance guy, right? That I would send my clients to, and like right around 2009, 2010 is, well, I left the industry in 2010, and in 2009 is when I was sitting down with my CPA, which I still have now. We were doing my taxes. And right around that time, the industry had gone from the mortgage industry with the whole mortgage meltdown had gone from being 1099 to being W-2. And I knew that I needed to make a change, right? Because it's not how much money you make necessarily, it's how much money you keep. And my CPA, she's like, hey, Bryan, you should entertain working from home to create a virtual business. I know what you want. And I thought she was trying to recruit me in a network marketing company, but she wasn't. She was trying to give me advice. And before that, because I've done very well in the mortgage business, I would have people come to me with all kinds of different opportunities, and I always said no. But because it was my CPA, I respected her and trusted her, I opened my mind. And somebody recommended a book by the name of Beach Money, which is Jordan Adler's book, right? And when I read that book, there's 3 things that really resonated with me. Number 1, he owns his life. Number 2, he never misses a birthday. Number 3, he never misses a funeral. For some reason, that stuck with me. Well, in 2012, my family and I, we moved across country. We moved from Vegas to Maryland, and we lived there for 18 months. So I had to learn how to network. Right at the time, I had an affiliate marketing, text marketing business that you and I were a part of. And I had to learn how to network. I didn't know anybody in Maryland except for my mother-in-law. And I learned how to go out there and network and meet people, right? I learned how to go out there and meet people, but I would come home with all these business cards. And I'd be like, now what? What do I do? Sometimes I go to coffee with people, and that's where it ended. And then 18 months after that, we ended up moving to Charlotte. And about a year after that's when you and I connected, and you introduced me to SOC. And right around that time, Gary, I was looking for something else to do. I was looking to make more money, but I was looking for some sort of business that will allow me to be able to spend time with my kids, right? Because I don't miss their events, but also just allow me to meet business people. Because what I learned when I lived in Maryland from networking is that most business people are so busy working in their business and not on their business. And I wanted to be the connector and monetize that, but I didn't know what that looked like. So when you came to me with Send Out Cards and you told me that Jordan Adler had introduced you to this, I was like, how much is, I don't know if you remember this, Gary, but I was like, how much did it cost? And I'm like, here, take my money. And it was pretty quick because I wanted to learn. I wanted to meet Jordan Adler, and I wanted to learn how he's been able to build such a huge network, right? So when we did that training with Jordan, I asked Jordan, I'm like, hey, you know what would be the quickest way for me to grow my network? And he mentioned, I think you should join BNI. Do you remember that?
Yep.
And I ended up joining BNI. And I started seeing how all the different BNI members, for those of you who don't know what BNI is an international network where there can only be one industry per chapter. So I was the Send Out Cards guy in that chapter, and I started seeing how the mortgage person, and speaking of mortgage, she still uses the product. She sent that to me on a closing we had about 4 months ago, right? She still uses the product. Yeah. But then I heard, and that's kind of what sold me on the product, because I started seeing the results that other entrepreneurs were having using this product. But then I heard Jordan speak for the very first time, and when I met him in person in May of 2015, May 2015, and him and I sat down afterwards, and I'm like, Jordan, and Jordan's very busy. Everybody's trying to get his time, right, in these events. So he sat down with me. We sat down for about 5 minutes, and I'm like, Jordan, if you can give me one piece of advice to grow my network and to grow my send-out card business, what would it be? And this is before I even got my real estate license, which we're going to head into that. And he said, Bryan, I've been doing this for the longest time, and if you do these 3 things consistently, you'll never have to work a day in your life ever again. What do you mean by not having to work a day in your life ever again is when you love what you do and you create a referral-based business, you can pick and choose who you want to work with instead of who you have to work with. There's a difference. And he said, Bryan, he's like, all you got to do is these 3 things. Number 1, meet more people, which I was doing in Maryland. Number 2, connect more people, which B and I taught me how to do, givers gain. And number 3, and I get the chills every time I say this because you guys, I've been in sales for over 20 years and nobody ever taught me this one. Number 3, appreciate more people, right? And that's what people are missing is appreciation.
That's so powerful, Bryan. I remember hearing those same 3 ways to grow your business, and it's so powerful. We all know that we need to meet more people. A little bit more obscure is connecting people, bringing people together, because when you bring 2 people together, you help them to connect. Your social worth, your social value goes up when you bring other people together. But the key is number 3 is appreciating more people, which is in this day of Facebook and LinkedIn, people are longing for connection. They're longing for valuation, to feel good. And that's really what we're going to be focusing on today. So as I got started with this amazing company, I've been a realtor with Keller Williams for about a year. And I started doing a very simple thing from my phone or my laptop. I started sending out physical greeting cards. So I would go onto my app and I would create an actual physical greeting card from my phone or my laptop. And with a couple clicks of a button, I'd be able to have it printed, stuffed, stamped, and mailed directly to my prospect or my client. And I could do it for $1.66, including the stamp, versus going and do it in 2 minutes versus going down.
Do me a favor, while you talk, there's somebody at the door. Just keep talking.
Yeah, no worries. So, instead of getting in your car and going down to Hallmark and spending $5 or $6, $7 for a card, I could do something from my phone or my laptop, add pictures to it, and make it much more personalized. And I started getting the results back from people. So the first year, I did a lot of rentals. And one of the people, husband and wife and a couple kids, that I put it into a rental, we became Facebook friends. And so a couple months later, Newly posted a picture on Facebook of him and his wife, newlywed, cutting the cake. They were celebrating their 1-year anniversary. So I took this picture off of Facebook, I put it on a card, I attached a 4-pack of brownies, which is all done in system through the Send Out Cards app, and send it to him. And 5 days later, Newly calls me, and this is his exact words. Dude, my wife adores you. Thank you so much for sending that. We both really appreciate it, and the kids love the brownies. So we talked for a few more minutes. Newly's a business owner, and I told him how I did it. The last thing that Newly said to me is, hey, my dad's moving back to Vegas. He lives up in southwest Colorado, and he's purchased 3 homes from the same realtor here in Vegas, but I want him to meet you. So I met with Myron, and we ended up closing the $750,000 transaction, basically from a card, a $15 card and gift that I did in about 3 minutes. And so that was a very inexpensive card and gift that I sent that brought me in over a $20,000 commission. And I was totally a rabid, raving fan at that point. So I've used this in a couple of different ways. I've used this to love on my network, and I'll show you another example here in a second. But I also use this in a more traditional way as a realtor. I had a listing and I created a 3-panel card. So this card is cost about $2, including the stamp to send out. It's a 3-panel card. And on
you made that, Gary?
What's that?
You made that card?
I did make that.
That's a nice card. You got to teach me how to do that.
I tell you, it's super simple. And so on the inside of the card, I spanned the picture of the outside of the home.
Oh, I like it.
Edges, I put some pictures of the high points, the pool, the kitchen, things like that.
Wow.
I got a list of 100 neighbors from my title rep, uploaded that as a group, and connected one card to that group and hit send. And that night, 100 cards were printed and went out to the neighborhood. So 4 or 5 days later, I get a phone call. And Steve says, Gary, I'm a power engineer. I'm moving from California, Apple Valley, moving to Las Vegas. And while I work at the power station, one of my coworkers handed me this card. And I see all these great pictures. I'd like to take a look at that home. So as a realtor, I'm thinking, yeah, awesome. Okay, great. So I showed him this home, and it ended up not being a fit for him. But I did put him into a brand new Toll Brothers home, and that was a $2 card times 100 people, so that was a $200 campaign, and it made me a $19,000 commission.
I remember that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just been so phenomenal using this system. So here, I'm going to go ahead and share the screen, and I want to show you something, a card that I sent here just a bit ago. Let's see here. I got to get off of that. Why is that there? There we go. Hang on one second. Okay, so I put someone into a home, sent them a couple cards as we were going through the process, and became Facebook friends. And so a couple weeks ago, they posted this picture of their newborn baby. And so, guys, people put their lives on Facebook, and you can use this to love on your network. So I take this picture off of Facebook, I put a border around it, I type out the word "so beautiful," and on the inside, I go ahead and say something very simple. Tim and Becky, you must be so proud and happy. Your baby is absolutely adorable. He couldn't ask for finer people in his life. And so, and I added a little stuffed baby toy so that I can send a gift. Again, we're appreciating people. And when you do this consistently with your network, what ends up happening is that you kind of go out here from in the ether to top of mind, and then more importantly, to top of heart. And top of heart is where the referral machine is at, because when your network loves you, it's that programming that when you go out and buy a red Mercedes, you start seeing red Mercedes everywhere. And it's that neuro-linguistic programming where what ends up happening is that as you love on your network and they start to love you back, that they hear that someone's buying or selling a home, and guess what? My name gets mentioned. And the same thing will happen to you if you love on your network and do things that separate yourself from other realtors, do things differently, then you're going to end up being top of heart, and your referral machine, your clients will start to call you up. I know so many realtors across this country that are using this amazing system of send out cards, which we'll go into in a little bit. And it's just been phenomenal for my business. Realtors, we're in the people game. We're in the relationship building game. And it just makes sense that if you have a simple, low cost, easy to use tool, that you start making connections with people, that it's going to benefit you. So Bryan, you became a realtor a couple of years after I did. You've been a realtor for about 1.5 years now.
Correct.
And you've been really focusing on doing those 3 things: meeting new people, connecting people, and appreciating people. So tell us a little bit about how you've used send out cards, because you hit the ground running. I think you did 10 or 12 deals your first year, if I remember correctly. And you are on pace this year to just crush it. So talk to us a little bit about how you use this amazing system.
Top of heart is where the referral machine is at. I love it, Gary. I had to write that one down. Yeah, so here's what happened with me, Gary, is I was, as you know, Send Out Cards is a personal development company, and Cards and Gifts just happened to be the product, right?
Yeah.
So I was at a personal development event in Atlanta, and and there's about 25 people. We're having lunch. There's about 25 people at a table. And all of a sudden, I hear this lady. I'm talking to somebody here. I'm at the end of one table, and this lady's at the end of the other table. And I hear her say, well, last year, my husband and I closed a little under 50 transactions, right? This was the beginning of 2016. And I was like, huh? Right? She caught my attention, even though she was on the other end. This is before I had my real estate license. Because I've always enjoyed real estate as an investor. And even when I was a lender, I always noticed that most realtors do not control their time. They just don't, right? Except the one that controls the leads, right? The one that controls the leads controls their time, right? But everybody else just works for the one that controls the leads, right? Yeah. And so when she mentioned that, I went over there and I'm like, wait, so tell me, how do you do this? And she started showing me, well, I just appreciate people on Facebook, and people put their lives on Facebook, and I just send them cards, and if they have a special event, if they have a loss, I'll just add the picture and put pictures on front of the cards. And I was like, you know what, that is pretty cool. Because what I realized, Gary, from being in the car business, from being in the mortgage business, and now being in real estate, is that nobody ever throws a picture of themselves, their kids, their pets, their cars, or their home away. They just don't. They don't. So that's when I decided to get my real estate license, because I started following her on Facebook. And I was like, you know what? And I would see her in Hawaii with their grandkids. And I'd be like, how does she do that many, how do her and her husband do that many transactions using the system? And that's when I decided I'm going to go get my real estate license, and I'm going to go ahead and build it using Send Out Cards. And I joined Keller Williams. And I interviewed with some of the top agents, most of the top agents. I took them out for coffee. And I would ask them, what is your one thing? That's what Gary Keller teaches. What is your one thing? He has a book out there. Do that one thing consistently, right? Do that one thing consistently. That boring thing that you don't want to do. What's his name? Darren Hardy, Success Magazine. He calls it eat the big frog first, right? The hardest things, right? The one thing. And so I started doing open houses. All I can think about during the open houses is missing time away from my kids. I was like, ugh, I just don't like it. I went door knocking, didn't like that. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna stick with what I'm doing. So long story short, my first year, 2017, my first year, I closed myself 12 transactions, and I referred 3 out. So it's a total of 15 that I got paid on. And the reason I referred them out, because these were buyers who wanted to look at properties while my kids' events were going on, and that just wasn't happening, because I didn't get into real estate to chase commissions. I got into real estate to chase and create a lifestyle. Yeah.
Well, you've been very focused on that. You take your children to school. You pick them up, I believe. You never
most of the time.
An event. I know your kids were in basketball. Now they're heading into football. And you're there. And so you build your business around your life rather than squeezing your life into your business. And I think that's just so commendable. And I think one of the ways you're able to do that is by using appreciation marketing. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so earlier today during our call, I had to step out. And I didn't know that anybody was I'm in the office right now. I didn't know that somebody was going to be coming in, but it was a gentleman dropping off his disclosures, right? His seller property disclosures on a $929,000 listing that I just got that's going live here Friday in 2 days, right? And I went ahead, and it was a for sale by owner that I had on my scope, and I just took a picture of their home, sent them a couple brownies, and I don't have a copy of the card, but it was funny because he went ahead and called me right after that. And when I went in for the appointment, it was in the evening around 6:30 p.m. And him and his wife were drinking wine. The wife comes to the door, gives me a hug, right? Now, this is a stranger now. I've never met them before. Gives me a hug and says, hey, Bryan, would you like a glass of wine? I said, thanks, but no thanks. I don't drink. And we sit down. And the first thing that she says, she has the card sitting right there on the marble counter in her kitchen. And she's like, guess what I got in the mail yesterday? And I'm like, what? Which I already knew what she got. And she shows me the card. And I'm like, what happened to the brownies? Oh, she's like, those are gone. And we all start laughing. We all start laughing and get down to previewing the home. And I was there for about 35 minutes. We went ahead and agreed on terms. And it was that easy, Gary, because I turned a stranger into a friend.
Yeah, powerful.
And it's funny because the first real estate company I was with, I don't want to name any names. I think I already named it. You know, I remember when I got into Ignite, into training, you know, they handed me a stack of cards, and every single card had the name of the company in the front. And I was like, nah, I can't do that. That's against my belief system, right? Because, you know, what we teach, what Cody, the co-founder of SOC, what he teaches is appreciation. What you appreciate expands, right? What you appreciate expands, and promote, you know, make it about them, not about your company. And that's what everybody else is doing. They're talking about, hey, we're the greatest company on earth. You know, I'm the greatest agent. And they're making it about themselves instead of making it about the seller or the buyer.
Yeah. Yeah. What is it? WIIFM. What's in it for me?
That's right. What's in it for me?
And people, you know, there's the golden rule, treat people how you want to be treated. But we've learned the platinum rule, which is treat people how they want to be treated.
That's right.
And when you love on people, when you use the pictures. So an example, I don't have the card here, but about a month ago, I saw on my Facebook feed, one of my people in my network, his 8-year-old boy was swinging a bat, and the post was, my boy hit his first home run.
Yep.
And bing, I knew that was going to be a card. So I took that picture of the 8-year-old swinging the bat, and I put it on a card. And on the inside of the card, I said, Leonard, you must be so proud. You must be a proud papa. And so he gets it. A couple days later, he calls me up, goes, dude, thank you so much. I ended up getting a referral from him. So I actually haven't done business with Leonard, but when you do, it's the law of reciprocity. When you do nice things for people, they tend to want to do nice things back. And we just capitalize on that by loving on our network. It just works. So from a technical viewpoint, this is what I do is I set up, and I think you do the same thing. I set up a campaign where I put one of my people in my network into this campaign where they automatically, I don't even have to think about it, they get a birthday card, an anniversary card, a holiday card, a Valentine's Day card, a spring is here card. And I let those go out just, you know, in an automated fashion. But then I become Facebook friends with my network. And when I see something that's special, like his 8-year-old boy swinging the bat and hitting his first home run, or I see that someone went to Hawaii and they posted pictures of their Hawaii trip, or they got a new puppy, or even that their dog, you know, crossed the Rainbow Bridge, passed away. Those are moments that, and especially when it comes to animals, I know how I feel about my pet. I just love her to death. And when you do something like that and you take that picture off of Facebook of that new puppy, you put it on a card, you add a couple doggy treats and send that. I mean, it bypasses the brain. It goes right to the heart. And we like to say we have a 100% open rate. And I know if I send out an email to someone, I've got maybe a 60% chance of it being opened. And when it's opened, it has no emotional value whatsoever. But the simple fact of taking that same picture and putting it on a card and send it to someone, they're going to open it, right? I sort my mail over my trash can. And anything that looks like a form letter or an advertisement promoting State Farm or, you know, Capital One or whatever, I don't even look at it. But if I get an envelope from someone that I know, and even from someone that I don't know, and that envelope looks like a greeting card, it at least bypasses the garbage can and goes inside and I open it up. So we have a 100% open rate. And when people open up that card and have that tangible card in their hand of a picture of their puppy, and they got an unexpected treat, and you can even in that example send the card to the puppy. Hey Fido, looks like you found a new home. I'm so excited for you. Here's a doggy treat for you. When people open that up, they love it, and they know it's not made to Fido. They know it's made to them. And there's just so many ways that you can use this system to love and appreciate your network. Do you have any examples, Bryan, of cards that you've sent out that have brought you referrals or brought you business?
Well, I want to share something with you since we're on that subject as far as taking pictures from Facebook and all that stuff and putting them on a card.
Yeah.
This system allows you to be able to mix old school with new school, right? Because as you know, Gary, people that are on Facebook, they celebrate their lives or families' lives on Facebook and so forth. So the other day, I went to coffee with a gal who's been, I think we've been Facebook friends. I don't know for how long, Gary. I don't know, but she said she's been following me for a while. And she ended up getting her real estate license, and she wanted to find out how I'm building my real estate business using SOC. So we're sitting down, and I'm showing her the app, and next thing you know, she says to me, she's like, Bryan, isn't that kind of intrusive? I'm like, what? She's like putting people's pictures from Facebook. I'm like, well, if you're friends with them on Facebook and they know who you are and you're not a stranger, what's so intrusive about that? I'm like, that's public information that they're putting out there, right? It's not like you meet somebody at Starbucks and all of a sudden you're Facebook stalking them and sending them a nice to meet you card with their picture. Right? I mean, these people know who Gary Allen is. They know who Bryan Perez is, right? So anyways, she after we left that meeting, she's like, Bryan, do you really post pictures of your family on Facebook? I'm like, yeah. And she's like, why do you do that? And I don't want to say her name, but I said, let me ask you a question. I said, there's so many people that use Facebook in the wrong way. They're always promoting their business. Yay, I got 2 in contract. Yay, I have another one in contract. Yay, right? And the purpose of social media is when you meet someone, you want them to know who you are, right? Because the gap between point A and point Z is a bridge, and that bridge is called trust. Social media allows you to build that trust because by the time you sit down with somebody, there's no question of who Bryan Perez is or Gary Allen is. They already know who you are. It's a matter of if whether they want to do business with you or not, or whether they need your product or service.
Yeah.
Right? And most people don't understand that, but this product allows you to be able to use that. So here's a card. Here's my oldest son, and this is a 3-panel card. They recently just won the Lake Wiley baseball championship, and that's him right here, right next to the coach.
Yep.
And every parent on the team got this card. So I was the dad taking pictures of all the kids, the 3-panel card, and on the back of the card is my brand.
Yeah.
That's one of them. Here's another card that, and this is just an example. I don't want to go ahead and put people's information out there, Gary, so I'm using more of mine. I mean, I can share my kids and I can share myself, right? But here's one that I sent my son. But this is the kind of stuff that when I see people post stuff on Facebook, I will grab that picture and help them capture that memory by celebrating that moment. So here's my youngest son, his first day basketball. The week before that, he went ice skating. And then here's a Facebook memory that came up. And I send myself a card, and I send him a card. And obviously, my son doesn't care if I'm a realtor or not. So I don't have my real estate brand because with SOC, you can put up to 10 card backs, brands on the back of your card. But I send these to my sisters all the time. I send them to my brother. I send them to my mom. My mom, who I'm going to see next week, she is in California right now. But she called me the other day. And I'm going to be with her for her birthday. She's 70 years old. And out of the blue, Gary, out of the blue, she says to me, she's like, Bryan, I got your card the other day. It was a card. It was a picture of her and my nephew. They were out eating seafood, right? And then they had a big plate of shrimp and shrimp scampi. And my mom loves shrimp. So I took that picture of her and my nephew, JJ, and I put it on a card and I sent it to my sister's home where my mom is at right now. And my mom got it. But over the years, I've been sending her a card. So out of the blue, Gary, out of the blue, my mom says, she's like, Bryan, you know what? That was such a beautiful card that you sent the other day. Well, you keep sending those. And that was just so cool, Gary, because, you know, our parents are not going to be with us forever.
All right.
Right. And that's the value that we bring is we, you know, everything's about creating value. As you mentioned, what's in it for me, right? We're either making positive deposits in people's emotional bank, or we're withdrawing from their emotional bank, right? That's right. And so what this product allows us to do is to be able to add value to people's lives. Here's one that I sent to a friend of mine, and she's cool with it. She's all over social media. She is a realtor about an hour and a half from me. And she's referred a few clients over. And she just announced that she's having a baby girl. Her man and her son were just in Hawaii. And she made the announcement, and I sent her this card. And all I didn't even add a congratulations message. I just copied and pasted what she put on there.
Yeah.
And you know what's funny, Gary, is when I talk to agents, a lot of them are like, I don't add other agents to my social media. And I'm like, why not? They're like, because I don't want them knowing my business. And I'm like, really? This product, whenever I connect with an agent on social media, within 24 to 48 hours, I think this is what they're trained on is, hey, connect with people and then send them your Facebook page, right? Well, within 24 to 48 hours, I'm getting an invite to like their page. Well, what I do is I'll go ahead and take a picture of either themselves or their team. They have their office address in there, and I'll send them a thank you for connecting card. Now, it's about them. It's not about me. It's about them and their team. 9 times out of 10, they will take that card and they'll put it either in their office, in their cubicle, because I want them to think of me when they think of Charlotte real estate.
Yeah. I've been doing that a lot with LinkedIn. I've been focused on growing my network, and I am connecting with agents across the country for a number of reasons. Number one, I want to grow my network, and they don't have a license in Nevada. I do. I don't have a license in Texas. They do. And when I make that connection, if someone approves the connection, I will then look them up on Facebook because they generally have better pictures there. And I can look up their company address. And what I will do is I will take a picture from Facebook and I'll just say, thank you for connecting with me on LinkedIn. I hope that we can add value to each other in the upcoming years, and much success to you. And what I'm doing is paving the way so that at some time in the future, I can text them or call them and say, hey, I just wanted to reach out to you, because LinkedIn is a great way to connect with professionals, but it doesn't have the heart that Facebook does. And right. Even with Facebook, you always still, the fortune's in the follow-up. And so you still want to make that personal connection with someone, but this turns a somewhat of a cold connection into a warm connection. And they're going to remember me more so than another realtor. And so when they get someone that's moving from Texas to Las Vegas, if I've stayed in touch with them, if I continue to love on my network, then I'm going to get that phone call and help them out and send them a referral fee. It's just brilliant. Now, let's change the subject here a little bit. You belong to a church, and you continue to do what you do no matter where you're at. You're meeting people, you're connecting people, you're appreciating people. And I know that you've gotten some connections, some deals from referrals from members in your church because you've appreciated them using send out cards. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so one of the deals, actually my very first deal last year, And I refer this one out because it was a buyer, first-time home buyer, and she wanted to look at homes at 5:30. And it was funny because the day that her and the agent that I referred her to found the house, her townhome, is the day that my oldest son hit his first home run. I would have missed it. I would have missed it if I would have been out with her. But so that was a deal that was referred to me by someone at church. Her husband is an Air Force veteran, and so am I. And I remember him posting. I don't have the cards, by the way, but I posted a picture of him on Veterans Day, with him in his in his uniform when he was younger. He's in the 70s now. And then over the years, I sent them cards with pictures of them and their daughters, cards of them at church. And when she referred this buyer to me, she's like, hey, you know what? So-and-so from church is ready to buy. Will you help her out? That's one of them. Another one was a realtor. And this is another reason, and I'm not trying to be pessimistic, Gary, but it's reality. 80% of the realtors will not be in business in 3 years. It's just the way it is. It's the numbers, right? So why wouldn't you want to keep in touch with realtors as a realtor, right? Because 3 years from now, there's an 80% chance that they're not going to be in the business anymore. They have a network you don't have. People are going to call them about real estate, and obviously you want to go from here to here.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
So this realtor, when we first met, she had been with another company here in town, and then we went through training together with our old company. And when we met, we just took a selfie. I sent her a nice to meet you card. She loved the card. A week later, she came in the office and raved about the card. And then right around September was when her son was leaving for college, her 5th kid, leaving the nest. And I can tell that she was emotional. Yeah. And I based on the Facebook post, she posted a picture of her and her son, and I sent her a card with a heartfelt message. Because for us, even though our kids are younger, that day will come. It's going to come, right? And so I feel that. And so I sent her a heartfelt message. And this was like in September. Right around December, she texted me. And she's like, Bryan, can we meet for coffee? And I'm like, sure. So we meet for coffee, and she brings over, and Gary, you know me, I'm not about paperwork. Like, I hate when I go to a networking event, if somebody has me paperwork, I'm like, hey, I don't want to be rude, but here's your paperwork back. Right? I'm all about apps, right? Right. No clutter. And so she comes with this big old shoe box, right? And with her contacts, she's like, hey, listen, you know what? I'm going to take a break from the business. I'm burned out. And my last kid just left the nest, and I want to chill. Well, about 2 months later, she sends me a referral. It was a couple who needed to sell their home. And that turned out to not only I represent them on the selling end, but also on purchasing a brand new home. I was visiting a new sales office last year, and when I left it, in previewing a home for a client who I was working with, they were flying in from New York, and I went to go preview a Pulte home, and I met the agent. And when I left there, and this lady was so cool, we just hit it off. She's from New Jersey, and we take a selfie, and I send her a card, and that was about it. And a week and a half later, it was Father's Day. I remember that day because I was at a friend's house eating crab boil. And my phone rings, and it's this new home sales agent. It's like, hey, Bryan, this is so-and-so. We met last week. She's like, I have a buyer here who I can't help her out, unfortunately, but she's looking in the Lake Wiley area. Do you think you can help her out? I'm like, sure. Well, anyways, that turned out, because of a card that I sent her, Gary, that turned out to be a $138,000 sale of her condo and a $285,000 purchase on a brand new home.
I think the amazing thing is, Bryan, is that a lot of agents would look at a card sending business and go, well, this is a great way to promote myself by putting an advertisement and asking for a referral. But you don't do that, right? You send out love and appreciation without a motive.
Correct.
you want to love and appreciate and lift other people up. And by doing that, I mean, you have your branding on the back, but you're not there to ask for referrals. You're there to show kindness and appreciation. And lo and behold, that does exactly, at the end of the day, it brings you in the referrals. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, Gary. So just my phone just rang right now, and that's a buyer. Well, actually, both a seller and a buyer. And I just listed their home for $334,900, and we're looking. Just went on the market 2 days ago, and we're out there looking at a home around the $450,000 range, and that came from an agent referral. Gary, a local agent referral, not somebody out of state. And let me tell you what happened. And this is why I think it's crazy that agents don't appreciate other agents, right? And I mean, you have companies out there like the Keller Williams and the EXPs and the Exits, that have a revenue share, profit share, and that's a different story, because now what's in it for me, right? But and agents are doing that now, right? They're trying to recruit other agents, but for the most part, as you mentioned earlier, is, if you shift your philosophy into just appreciating people, right, for who they are, and throw it out there. With this system, you can just go ahead and do it right from your phone, bam, and you're done. So here's what happened. November of last year, 3 months ago? Something like that, yeah. November of last year, I was representing the seller, and this agent was representing the buyer. We end up closing the transaction. At the closing, we take a picture, and I send her a thank you card. About a month and a half goes by, and I'm driving back from Costco about 3.5 weeks ago. I'm driving back from Costco with the family, and my phone rings, and it's this agent. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to answer that right now. I said, she's probably calling with a problem on the house, right, that we closed on a few months ago. So she texts me. She's like, Bryan, call me. I need to speak with you. So I call her up. And I'm like, hey, what's going on? She's like, hey, by the way, you know what? I've been meaning to call you and thank you for the card, but time just got away from me. I said, no problem. What's going on? She's like, I just had someone call on one of my listings in Lake Wylie. And this agent is in the South Park area, which is roughly about 30 minutes from Lake Wylie. That's where she that's where she works at. So she's like, and I'm out of town. Is there any way that you can meet them and show them my listing? And I'm like, sure. So I end up showing them the listing, and they like the house, but they haven't decided on that house yet. But it turned out that they live here in Lake Wylie, and they needed to sell a home. So that roughly is about 450, 330. I mean, do the math. A little under 800,000 from an agent referral, because I sent that agent a card. And guess what I did, Gary? When I showed them that home, when I showed them her listing, I took a picture of her listing. Remember, it's about them. It's not about me.
Right.
And I sent the buyers brownies and a thank you card. And I sent her brownies and a thank you card with the picture of that home.
Yeah. And
you know what's funny, Gary? And the reason I did that is because it's such a beautiful home at that price range. But these buyers, their home is not in contract yet, but these buyers, they're out there looking, and they always keep going back to that house. And guess where that card is at? On the refrigerator.
Yeah. We both have gone to people's homes or offices months after sending them a heartfelt card, and it's on the refrigerator, it's on their credenza at their office. It's just amazing. And with our branding, and I mean, they never throw that card away because...
Hey, Gary, real quick, I don't mean to cut you off, but I just want to go ahead and finish. So, and it's funny because they teach you in real estate school and sales school, always send handwritten cards, right? I guarantee you, if I would have sent them a handwritten card like I used to do when I was in the car business, they would not have that card sitting on the refrigerator.
That's right.
Guaranteed.
So I speak because being a distributor for Send Out Cards, I'll talk to a realtor and they push back. Oh, I believe it's important to handwrite our cards. And they think that because they think it's personalized, which it is. But what's more personalized than a handwritten card? It's a picture.
Correct.
Not of you, but of them, the recipient of that card. And, with our Send Out Card system, we can actually send in a sample of our handwriting. And so I can type out on my phone or my computer, and it's handwritten look as well. My signature is on there, but it's the pictures that carry the emotional weight with the recipients. So, Bryan, I appreciate you being on here. If you wouldn't mind, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and I want to go over a few of the options and get your final comments. Is that okay?
Yep.
All right. So what I'm going to do is sign out of my account here, and then I'm going to show everyone that's listening in the options that you have to use Send Out Cards. So there's really 3 different parts to Send Out Cards. There's the monthly subscription that's $39 a month. That's going to allow you to send out about 33 of these cards a month. There's no contract. You can cancel at any time. And if you don't use all of your points, this is a 3-point card, so I can, times 33, that's 99 points. So if I don't use all of my 100 points for the $39 a month, they roll over for 18 months. So if I only use 50 points this month, next month I'll have 150 points waiting for me. So that's the first part, is being able to send out cards month after month after month. That's where the monthly subscription comes in. The second part is the bundles. The bundles just add features to the subscription. So as a realtor, I always recommend the marketing bundle. This has all the tools that a realtor needs. It has all the tools that Send Out Cards provides. So for a one-time charge of $395, I'm able to get the custom brand manager, the ability to own this real estate on the back of this card. I'm able to have upgraded memories, some more contacts that I can save, more saved campaigns. Remember, a campaign is one card going to many people, like I showed on my listing, or many cards going to one person, like you're dripping on them. They get a birthday card, holiday card, a Valentine's Day card, however you set it up. So you can save up to 100 campaigns in the memory vault, the Send Out Cards memory vault. The basic storage, you get about half of that. But you also get 200 bonus points. Now, the caveat with the points inside of the bundle is they last for 2 months. They don't roll over for 18 months like they do on the subscription. But that's okay, because what they're meant for is for you to get the word out. Start sending out love and appreciation, cards and gifts, get used to using the system, get familiar with it. And so those points go away after 2 months, but your subscription carries on month after month after month. So you also get the personal handwriting font and the signature font. This is where you send in the form with your ABCs, your 1, 2, 3s, your punctuation. Down at the bottom, you sign the 4 different ways that you can sign the card. You send that into the home office, and then within a week or 10 days, that is one of your fonts that you can now on your phone or your computer start creating cards with your handwriting and your signature. Now, you also get the MRM training portal. The MRM stands for Master Relationship Marketing Training Portal. In my mind, this is worth the $395 in and of itself, because there's about 10 hours of online content on how to use this amazing system to grow your business, whether that's being a realtor, a loan officer, a car dealership, or whatever. It's just rock solid information on appreciation marketing and loving on your network. We get a couple campaigns. The first impression kit is a little bit of an upgraded card. It has a thicker card stock, and you can modify it. It has a satin white or satin black finish, so you can modify that as well. And there's also another campaign down here at the bottom. So if the marketing bundle is not comfortable for you, you can always start off with the personal bundle. You get the custom brand manager, the branding on the back. You get the signature package. You don't get the training portal or the handwriting, but you do get 100 bonus points. And you can always upgrade. You can always start with the personal bundle and then pay the difference of $200, and you can get the upgraded features. The business bundle is really made for team leaders, for business owners, and it gives you everything the marketing bundle has, but it gives you multi-user accounts. So if I'm a team leader of a real estate team, I might want to have my outside buyer's agent have a sub-account. I might want to have my ISA have a sub-account, or my customer service person have a sub-account. And that's what the business bundle gives you. So that's the first part's the subscription. The second part is the bundle. The third part may be of interest to you. It may not be, and that's totally fine. And that's being a distributor with send out cards. So when I saw this, I saw Netflix killing Blockbuster. I saw Amazon killing the bookstores. I saw iTunes killing the record stores. Guys, send out cards is disrupting the greeting card and gifting brick and mortar system that's out there, and you can take advantage of it. And again, it may not intrigue you. You may want to stay solely focused on real estate. I totally get that. However, this is the easiest thing to share with realtors, because I'll just go into my office and I'll say, hey, can I show you something cool? And they say yes, and I take a selfie of us and I send them a card with some brownies, and I follow up with them a week later. If I show this to 10 realtors, I sign up a couple people as clients and maybe a distributor. And that's a whole new market that opens up. So I've created a second income source. Bryan has done the same thing. He's created a second income stream that, I tease realtors. I say right now, send out cards pays the taxes on my real estate. But this is such a powerful system, and it's growing so fast that 5 or 7 years from now, real estate is going to be paying the taxes on my send out cards, because it takes on a life of its own and just starts to explode. So, Bryan, what are your thoughts on what I've just shared?
Well, I can tell you this. I'll share a story with you. So yesterday, no, what's today? Today's Wednesday, right? Today's Wednesday.
Yep.
Yeah, today's Wednesday. So Monday I was referred to an agent. She does about 8 to 10 million a year. And she was referred to me by a lender who is using send out cards, and I had sent this lender a card of her daughter playing in the snow. And she had that card, she still has that card sitting in her office. That agent went into her office and said, hey, who sent you that card? And she's like, oh, you got to talk to Bryan Perez. So I met with her. She's a listing agent. I met with her new buyer's agent on Monday. And it's funny, Gary, because at the end, and they're going to be signing up, and at the end of the presentation, she says to me, so what's your ROI, your return on investment? And I'm like, you know what? I really don't know. I said, I spent about $400 a month on cards and gifts, and I closed this much in business. I did 15, 12 on my own and 3 referrals. So, I mean, I really don't know. This is how much I made. So I don't know.
This is the only marketing you do. Is that correct?
Correct. And, and Gary, and I can't talk how much I make with send out cards. As you know, we can't talk about that stuff, but you know how much I make with send out cards because you sponsored me. So send out cards pays me a lot more than that to share the app with other entrepreneurs, realtors, lenders, business owners. And so it doesn't cost me anything except for my time and energy.
So what you just said then is that all of your marketing is paid for because you've shown this to a few realtors, they've signed up, and the money that you make from send out cards is more than the money that you make for your marketing for send out cards and for real estate.
Absolutely.
Isn't that crazy, guys? Being able to have a system that is so effective and doesn't cost you anything.
And you know what's crazy, Gary? What's crazy is when I talk to realtors and I show them this, and I really don't care whether they sign up as a distributor or not. That's totally up to them. But as a realtor, right, we need to be connectors, right? We want to be the person that somebody calls to say, hey, Gary, hey, do you know of a good plumber? Hey, Gary, do you know of a good architect? Hey, Gary, do you know of a good framer? Whatever. Just we want to be that connector. Yes. So if we're connectors, this is the best connecting product out there. So why not use it, share it, and have your marketing pay for itself?
Yeah, brilliant. I know that Kayla in Fort Collins has, she's a new distributor, and she's been with me for about 3 months. She started using this, and she's got about $2,000 in listings. I'm sorry, $2 million in listings that came about from using this. she shared it with realtors on this webinar and with her organization, her Keller Williams office, and it almost pays for it. She really uses a lot of send out cards marketing to love on her network, and it almost has compensated her. I think she's probably at 90% compensation. So within a couple months, she's going to be making more than what she's spending. It's just a phenomenal tool. So we're at right about an hour, Bryan. So I appreciate you spending time with us and sharing your experiences and wisdom. I appreciate you, man. And I know that the people that are watching this Zoom are going to get a lot of value out of it. So I want to thank you for your time and your wisdom and your friendship.
Gary, thank you so much. I feel like I haven't seen you in a while. I know we'll be seeing each other in a couple months, and I can't wait to give you a big hug and a kiss on your head.
Thank you so much. Hey, I appreciate you, man.
Thank you, man. Love you, brother.
We'll talk soon.
Bye, man. Bye.
Bye, everyone.